Wake up at dawn, coffee's brewing slow. Check the news, let the headlines flow. Black and white candles light up my screen. Patience is my saddle, keep my focus keen. 3/8 traps my rope, I'm ready to ride. Price pulls back soft, just a dip in the tide. Wait for the break, let it clear that line. Trade above the high and the profit's mine.
Good morning, fellow traders, and happy Friday. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for May 16th, 2025. Hope everyone is ready for another wild Friday. We have just been so incredibly bullish, and just when you think the fade might start to begin, the president comes out and announces a deal with Iran, reducing the likelihood of nuclear capabilities in that region of the world, and the market rallies sharply on those comments. So we started down yesterday, reversed really quickly, and continue to show very bullish patterns in the indexes. How about we take a look at what happened overnight? First off, if we take a look at what we've got going on in Asian markets last night, Asian markets were mostly lower, but modestly lower. We had Australia was a little bit higher last night, up 46 points, and we had South Korea up a little over 5 points last night. But we see Shanghai lower by 13 points. Hong Kong was down 108. India down 42. The Nikkei down just slightly, $1.79, after they reported in their GDP that their economy is contracting. If we take a look at European markets this morning, they're green across the board, showing some bullishness, inspired a bit off of earnings reports this morning, with the DAX up 159 points. FTSE is up 62, and the CAC is up 58. If we take a look at U.S. futures this morning, well, U.S. futures are also on the bullish side, continuing that push to the upside. We're looking at a potential gap up in the Dow of 155 points. S&P 500 futures are up $17.50, and NASDAQ futures are looking up 63 1/4 at the moment. If we take a look at bond prices here, bond prices are slipping back just a little bit, easing some of that pressure. That's taking that US dollar and trying to kick it up just a tiny little bit. Right now we've got the US dollar, actually it is down just slightly at the moment, sorry, down 8 cents. It was a little bit higher just as I was doing the preparation for the video this morning. So keep an eye on that. Now we will want to be watching this dollar. You can see we've got that rising pattern going on here. We're holding some price support. If we can kick off of this area, we might see that dollar re-strengthen here in the market, so watch that closely. But that being said, we've got bond prices helping out just a little bit. Right now the 2-year bond is at 3.94%, not really easing much there, but we're getting a little bit of relief in the 10-year at 4.41. And the 30-year has come down probably the most at 4.87. So keep an eye on those bond prices today. Now, if we take a look at anything in the crypto markets, well, cryptos are looking bullish here this morning after a couple of days of selling. Bitcoin here trying to push back up here. We saw Bitcoin gapping lower yesterday morning and then reversing, and now it's trying to follow through. That's the way I should say it. Up $756 a coin at the moment, or 0.75%. And Ether, my goodness, it is being incredibly volatile here lately. Reversing, it was down more than 3% yesterday, and now this morning up heading in on 4%, up $95 a coin at 376. Both of those charts, very, very bullish charts. And we've got mostly bullishness in the cryptos here this morning. If we take a look at gold prices here today, gold is moving back down after a big reversal yesterday. Gold whipsawing, moving back down. We've got gold down at the moment, $33.90 an ounce at $3,192 an ounce. And if we take a look at silver, silver futures are also lower this morning, reversing a good push up yesterday. Right now down 35 cents a share at 32 an ounce. Let's take a peek at what we have going on here in oil prices. Oil, let's look at XLE here. XLE is in a very bullish pattern here. Higher lows, just resting sideways in here, looking pretty darn good. And this morning we have oil futures just slightly higher, up by 25 cents at 61.40 a barrel. Brent is coming in at 64.66 a barrel. And natural gas continuing that pullback here in the market, down 2 cents on the day. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Friday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these charts and see if we can figure out how we might approach the market for today. And remember, we want to shake off that bias and really look at the charts for what they are, not for what we want them to be. Now, if we can ignore this incredible extension to the upside in the chart and not worry about that possibility of that substantial fade, this is an extremely bullish chart. So as you can see, gapped up, we're not even filling the gap. Bullish engulfing candle yesterday, pushing through to the upside. So I'm fully expecting we're going to continue this move to the upside and see if we can break through this resistance in the chart and push up toward this next area here in the diamonds. Every reason to believe that's going to occur. I would watch carefully for that possibility. Now, looking at it, I've had some folks that say they appreciate it without all my drawings on it. But let's watch that area up here of resistance if we get those bulls going. If we happen to see those bears have anything to say, well, the first thing I would be looking at is just that pullback in here. We might catch a little bit of price support right in there on a pullback, and then full-on reversal of today would be right down here. So far, there's no indication of anything like that, other than the fact that we are extremely extended in the short term here in the market. And if that pullback does come, I would expect it to be quick and it could be painful. So be careful here in the market. If we take a look at our technicals here in the chart, still working there yesterday, trying to break through that 200-day, and it looks like this morning we're going to gap through. You know, when you can't get it done during the day, you do it overnight, and gapping up through there. But again, watch for that potential of a whipsaw. Very, very bullish at the moment. If we take a look at our SPY, also very bullish, continuing to stretch, and it is the big tech that is doing the majority of that. They are really pushing hard into those tech sector stocks, pressing to the upside. So let's keep an eye on some of these areas up here. Every reason to believe we can test these areas the way the market is acting right now, and then that possibility, if we break through there, well, we're back up here. We're going to be testing some areas that could put us back up here at all-time highs here on the SPY. So watch that carefully. Very extended in the short term in this move back up, and if the bears were to have anything to say here today, well, maybe just a little pullback to test some of that support. Maybe we start working our way back down toward this trend in the chart if the bears really get anything going here today. QQQ, well, let's look at those technicals real quick. Stretching way above that 200-day moving average. We do have to understand we've never really had any kind of resting pullback in this zooming rally that we have made in the market. So at any point in time, we could see a pullback to retest those 200-day moving averages at the moment. Just be careful not over trading and be watchful of when that turn begins to happen. Now the QQQ, just monster stretch. Now we ended up yesterday with a little bit of maybe a shooting star type pattern up there. We faded back. The Qs were struggling just a little bit by end of day. Trying to get something going here, so watch that. But as you can see, very strong upside trend. Nothing in there says bearishness at all in the candlestick patterns, in the chart pattern at all. It is all bull all the time. And let's watch this area right in here. We may breach this area this morning, and if we breach through here, then I'm going to suggest we could come up into here, and on a big push, hey, all-time highs coming in the QQQ on this straight up rally. Now, once again, we are extended in the short term, very stretched beyond that 200-day, leaving a lot of gaps behind. So if we do start moving back to the downside, look for it to be a little bit painful as we pull back here in the market. And then if we take a look at our IWM also in a very, very bullish pattern, and we might today, with this gap up open, breach through this big area of resistance that goes all the way back here to not T21, 2021 and 2022, and really a big area of resistance in the chart along with that downtrend here. We've got that double whammy of resistance here. But this morning, as you can see, we're trying to push through that. Let's throw that up there. We're trying to push through that area here this morning on this gap up, so watch that area in the chart. And if the bulls have anything to say about that, well, pretty easy to see that if we break through here, we've got a big open space where we could stretch up pretty strongly here in IWM, so watch that carefully. If the bears have anything to say, well, maybe a push back to retest some of these support levels in here might be in play, but and that would just be resting to trend. So nothing in here that is indicating any bearishness at all at the moment. If we take a look at our VIX started up yesterday, whipsawing all the way back down on those Trump comments about Iran, and pushing this next level of support. Looks like a place that will be going maybe some of these lows. We went from extreme fear to no fear at all. And if you looked at those numbers yesterday in the economic calendar, all those big numbers, they were really calm. No major issues or things in there. We've been hearing about all of the worries of inflation. Actually, our inflation got better. Producer prices got better. So maybe we have escaped all of this, but I do think that there is that possibility that we're just delayed on the data. So what I mean by that is we could see the real pressure for earnings, the real pressure for the market could be in next quarter when we really get the full impact of those tariffs into that. It doesn't mean that the economy is going to get bad, because I think we're starting to roll out of all that tariff situation. But what it does mean is we could have a little bit of a stale summer here with some of that background data coming in. But we'll have to wait and see. Now, that being said, if the bulls can continue to find that inspiration in testing these lower levels, certainly looks possible, and we could even be pushing back here getting down into 15, 16 handles on the VIX. So looking good. The downtrend is still in play. We've broke this upside trend. So bulls definitely in control here in the VIX. And if we have anything on the bearish side, will it pop back up in here? Won't really hurt us at all, because we're just very, very bullish here in the market. Our T2122 gives me the worst of the concern in here on the market, and that is just simply because we are very extended. We have it, just go back in history. There's never been a time that I have been able to find when we stuck to a ceiling like this and continue to stick to the ceiling. We had that little bit of a whipsaw in here, and that did help a lot, bringing in more buyers. And I think finishing up through the week, every reason to believe we could stay strong into the end of the week. So watch that carefully, though. We're pressing up here. We're going to have T2122 again, pretty much pinned on the ceiling if we continue to see this bullishness or this big gap up here this morning in the markets. And that leaves a big open space for those bears if they do have anything to say. Our T2108 turned up yesterday, making a little squeezed out of a little higher there. We had that hockey stick and it played out for a little while and then pushed right back up. We're about 65% of the stocks above their 200-day moving average. Now, one thing I would caution everyone on is this is absolutely parabolic in this move to the upside. We're just straight up in this move, and we're coming into an area of fairly significant price resistance here in the chart. So watch that carefully. If those bears do have anything to say, we've got to be watching for that possibility any time for that potential pullback. It could occur anytime, so make sure you have a plan to protect yourself if it does start to just take a rest in the market. So watch that carefully, but the bulls are certainly large and in charge, continuing to be very much in control. T2107 also nice little reversal back up yesterday, breaking through 35% of the stocks above their 200-day moving average, so breaking up through there. If they can continue to push to the upside, look for an area up here around 40%, and then of course beyond that we're looking up here trying to stretch up toward 50% in that chart. If the bears have anything to say, again, we have created some good areas of price support here in the chart, but one thing is for sure, bulls are in control and they are continuing to drive hard into the market. And if we take a look at our T2101 in here showed an increase in breadth yesterday. We had started down a little bit, reversed on that big news from Trump out of Iran, and saw that breadth coming back in, surging back up. So if we can continue that breadth move in here, and of course a lot of corporate buybacks probably kicking off here, helping out a lot too. So watch that carefully. If we can continue to extend as we continue to push the market higher, that's going to help embolden those bears, or bulls. So keep an eye on that. If we continue to see that breadth running to the upside on the bullish wave. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, we've got a few things here today. Not a major day, but a few things. Most notable going to be the housing starts and permits here this morning. They are expecting those housing starts and permits to increase a little bit here today. Well, at least on the starts, up 1.362 million. That's a little bit of improvement over last time. Still showing those permits declining just slightly, But if it comes in like this, I'm not sure the market's going to feel any major pain there at all, and we'll just carry on with this bullish gap up this morning. If we take a look here, we've got import-export prices. Import-export prices are looking at the import prices to decline to a negative 0.3. Keep an eye on that. Not giving us any of the year-over-year numbers, but they're saying export prices also coming in at a negative 0.3. This could be a market mover if this number is a shocking miss, but watch that carefully here today. And then consumer sentiment. Well, sentiment had been falling here in the market, but they're suggesting it's going to push back up. We're going to look for a 53 here today on the index, and year ahead inflation expectations, they're suggesting that's going to move up to 6.6. We sure haven't seen anything in the data that would suggest that, but remember, we still haven't seen the true impacts of those tariffs yet in a lot of the data, so watch that carefully. Remember, we're dealing with past quarter data. And then we've got a Baker Hughes rig count. We've got Treasury International Capital and a couple of Fed speakers here today. They will both be after the bell, so no worries there. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar here for today. And our earnings calendar, well, kind of light. On a Friday tends to be lighter anyway. Now there's a lot more stocks reporting this, but most of them are very, very small cap. So we've got FLO and RBC here today for the notables in the pre-market, and there are no notables after the bell here today. Looks like Flower Foods going sharply lower here this morning after its earnings, and RBC also just kind of hanging in there. I don't think we've got that report yet. Keep an eye on that here this morning. So with that, let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. And if you could do me that quick favor before we get there, if you could click that subscribe button on YouTube, also click that bell icon that pops up every time, so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, that would just be leaving that brief comment. Remember, even an emoji counts. I know, I understand. A daily video like this, it gets so tiring putting a comment in there. Truly, I understand. But it does help, and I appreciate everyone who does take the time to do that. Thank you so much for everyone who does. Truly means a lot to me. Thank you for all your kindness and the kind comments. Let's take a peek at some of these charts that could be setting up. Remember, everyone, these aren't recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence and be very, very careful in this market. Remember that if we do start pulling back, the moves could be sharp and we could whipsaw quite a bit. But that being said, there are a tremendous amount of stocks out there showing lots and lots of bullishness. Let's take a look at Lowe's in here. Lowe's, really beautiful pattern in here on Lowe's. Had a nice little breakthrough this resistance here in the chart. Resting pullback, nice bullish engulfing candle yesterday. I wouldn't rule out the possibility this might rest just a little bit more out here toward the trend. But hey, if you can handle the risk of your stop loss underneath this big candle yesterday, then I think there's every reason that could be a potential buy, and we might stretch on up here in Lowe's. You'll also see in Lowe's we're in what we call a rounded bottom breakout pattern, breaking through that 50, holding it as support. Next upside target in the rounded bottom breakout would be up there around the 200-day moving average. So looking good there on Lowe's. If we take a look at Home Depot, looking just as good. Nice little pop-up yesterday, holding above this support, heading out toward trend. I would keep a close eye on Home Depot. That's looking good. And again, could stretch on up easily toward that 200-day moving average. So watch that closely here, looking good in these patterns. Take a look at Chipotle. Chipotle popped up my alert here the other day. faded back just a little bit, just sliding out into trend, but I think there's some upside opportunity here in Chipotle. Keep a close eye on that, looking pretty good. Also in the rounded bottom breakout pattern, nice looking chart. Just prepare enough time in case the market does rest or pull back in here. Give yourself enough time to be right on that direction. Really liking the way WDC has performed since it popped through my alert. Continued to look very bullish. Nice little tight consolidation in here. I think we are going to stretch up here, test this resistance, and the good money is going to be if we can pop through there. Notice this big gap up here that could be filled. So if we can get through this up here, look for that nice stretch to the upside. Take a look at Valero. Valero, since my alert, that thing just went like a rocket ship ride, breaking through this downtrend here in the chart. And I would be watching for a little bit more consolidation in here perhaps, and then looking for that upside in here. Obviously, one of the things that we're seeing is our distillates are running a little bit shy here in the oil and gas area. So watch that carefully. That could be really good for some of these refiners in here like Valero, worth paying attention to. Take a look at Shopify. Shopify popped my alert in here on a big gap up, just continued to stretch to the upside. Little rest or pullback in here, I think sets up that opportunity. So anytime that might be ready to go to move on through to the upside. Etsy, nice little breakthrough, a bottom pattern here, and this beautiful little resting pattern in here, what a lot of us would call a J-hook type pattern. That pattern is where we pop up and then we just kind of swing down and rest, and then put in a little hooking pattern in here. I'd keep an eye on Etsy once again, also in a rounded bottom breakout pattern. Well, guys, you know that I'm still holding this position in BTU, so I've got a little bias in this, but this trade is working out really good. I've got a short covered call position on this, so I've got about 50% profits in my short strike so far. Beautiful profit in the upside move so far. Any rest or pullback in here that continues out here to this trend looks good. If I start to see those bulls really pick up in here along that trend, I will close this covered call, taking profits on that, and I may actually add to that BTU position. So keep an eye on that. Also in the rounded bottom breakout pattern, and just looking pretty darn good here at the moment. So watch that closely. You know, if we take a look at some of the utilities in here, utilities had a really good day yesterday. That's not something that you would normally see in what we're considering to be an extremely bullish market, but there is a bit of a big push back into, you know, high divvy payers, protective type trades yesterday. So watch that carefully here, breaking through this resistance up here. I'd be watching for a little bit of rest or consolidation, and then we might see that stretch on higher here on utilities. So keep an eye on some of those, and if you drop right into that utility sector, there's a lot of bullishness in there in that market. Take a look at some of the solar areas of the market. Big stretching moves here. First solar, this missed on earnings, and then it's been a buy ever since. Really stretching up here. A little rest or pullback might be interesting. Run, another one of those in the solar area. It needs a major rest, but big stretching moves in some of those solars. Take a look at space. Virgin Galactic here got past its earnings. Watch that carefully in here. This is a really nice bullish pattern, and it shot up yesterday after those earnings. You can see we got a little pullback, a little rest in here maybe. I'd keep an eye on Virgin Galactic. Looking pretty good. Take a look at Siri here pushing up in the market. Hopefully I didn't trigger your phone by saying that, but pushing up here in the market, nice little bullish pattern in that chart. You do want to watch this downtrend in here and this price resistance, but if we can push on through there, I think there might be some opportunities at least for a short-term upside run here in that chart. Oil and gas, boy, there's a lot of those out there looking bullish here at the moment. ConocoPhillips breaking through resistance, resting that consolidation here again, breaking through that 50-day, trying to be in that round bottom breakout. That's starting to look really good in there. We see things like ExxonMobil trying to push up here, holding on to an upside trend. Little bit more challenge here getting through that resistance, but watch that carefully up here. Occidental, this is going to be making Warren Buffett happy because this is starting to come back up. Nice push, little resting out here toward the trend. I would look for the next opportunity in that. And then if we take a look at our financials are looking really good, breaking through resistance up here, resting and consolidating up here in that pattern. I think there's every reason to believe that this might stretch on through. We might be up here testing these highs again pretty soon in XLF. Watch that carefully, and you could really just drop into some of the individuals here. BAC, very, very bullish in the market, resting up here after breaking through this resistance. And I think there's every reason to believe we're going to challenge these next areas higher. Citigroup looking great, breaking through resistance and resting up here. Beautiful upside trend in that chart. Yeah, I just keep an eye on those financials looking pretty good. Now, having said all of that, and there's all of these bullish charts, and I could just go on and on and on about these bullish charts right now. We are very extended in the short term. So I would expect that we're going to stay bullish into the close unless something changes here in the market. But watch this next week for that possibility of that pullback, and we could even get some pretty substantial moves in the market for a pullback. Just resting, pulling back, rechecking support levels in the charts. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. Have an awesome day and a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you right back here bright and early Monday morning. Take care, everyone.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.